My name is Ewen Miller. I'm an architect and also the Managing Director of Calderpeel Architects. Gosh, architecture, what does architecture mean? Well, of course I would say everything, but that would be maybe giving it too much importance. Architecture is an opportunity to impact the lives of individuals and collectives in a way that they didn't realise or expect, to delight them, engage them, to make things easier, open up opportunities to them, and connect spaces. It really is the glue that manifests itself around society and allows us to exist and engage. Those that believe that they're not engaging with architecture are incorrect. We do so every day, whether we realise it or not. And to be someone who's allowed to create that backdrop and that setting is a huge privilege and an honour, to be honest. And I think that's something that I've always thought, how lucky I am to be in a position that I'm allowed to practice this profession and practice architecture. So yes, it does mean a lot to me. And it means a lot to everybody. I think a lot of people don't quite realise how much it does mean to them until invariably you would enter an environment where it's doing something badly. Where it's doing it well, you almost don't notice because it's doing something so well. It's a range. We are predominantly known for doing what we call super homes, which are luxury houses, tend to be one-off luxury houses, whether they are new build or retrofit and extension work or refurbishment work for high-end worth clients. So those tend to be what we're known for, mainly because they are probably the one thing that everyone's interested in. Everyone has a house, everyone has a home, and everyone wants to know how the wealthy live and the stories that come with that. But that's only really about 40 to 50% of our turnover. The rest of the stuff, which I tend to get more involved with, tends to be the more complex residential projects.
Working with principal contractors and subcontractors in delivering works to a listed building, yeah, that is quite tricky. And I think the importance there is reliance upon the detailing and the work that we do as a practice with with ourselves, with the technical team, in delivering a set of details that have each of those solutions considered. Because questions will always arise on site, they always do, and it's not about that. It's about the fact that when those questions do arise, we've already got a solution that's been considered, and it's also about with those particular details, with those solutions. Again, it comes back to ensuring that we have the right thermal envelope, we're hitting the right U values. So that's very much kind of part of the consideration, but at the same time, it's actually then taking the time on some of those projects to sit down with the principal contractor and actually have a conversation over some of those details. So having the design team engaged and on board as early as possible, is really important as part of that. In terms of what New Part L means for the practice, it's been kind of a point of continual conversation, around the team with our technical crew. And also with each of our suppliers and the other members of the design team, because that's really important. It brings kind of to the fore those early conversations with the people that are doing the thermal modelling, just to make sure that we've kind of got those design principles established as early as possible, really, so we can then take those forward. So yeah, it doesn't really change the way that we work. We've always been really keen on working very closely with all of our other members of the design team. That's really important. But I think what it does change is it allows us to kind of bring that focus a little bit earlier, and also really kind of force the emphasis to our clients as well in terms of how important that is. It's not just about jumping straight into delivering a set of drawings. It is actually about thinking about that first. And at the same time as thinking about how we achieve a certain U value, it's also about how we achieve cost efficiency for our clients as well. It's having that in the forefront of our minds as well. So yeah, it's quite important. But like I say, it hasn't really changed the fundamentals to how we approach a project. It just makes us think about it perhaps a little bit earlier.
Well, since when I started, we were still working on the drawing board. We didn't have any or very little computer-aided design capabilities, but that shows how old I am. So, yeah, there have been some huge changes. I think what's been quite intriguing is no matter how software comes in and either purports or does deliver on speed and efficiency, I think the complexities of creating the design or getting the brief, designing and then creating and constructing a building seem to have got more complex. And I don't think that's me looking at things through rose-tinted glasses, but I think the legislative processes we have to go through now are far more onerous, and rightly so. And therefore, to some extent, the need for architects is even more prevalent than it was, when I started. And yeah, it is probably a more complex process, and one would think as time goes on these processes get condensed and get quicker. Architecture is slightly different, it gets longer, more difficult, and we're consulting far more now on our design process. It's become a far more political process, I think, than it ever was. It always had that element to it, but it's becoming far more, we spend far more time consulting with a variety of groups at design stage. Which therefore then I think does make it tricky, not impossible, to develop designs that will answer everyone's needs, because they won't. There will always be, as with any building, there's always will be someone who likes it and someone who doesn't like it. And I think we are far more democratic in the way that we deliver these buildings now, which means it's a longer process.
Working in close partnership with manufacturers is really important to us, actually. I work with a couple of other members of my team to deliver the CPD program for the office, and so we're continually in conversation with all sorts of different manufacturers, making sure that the CPD program that we have in the office is varied, and also gives the team what they need in terms of that depth and kind of variation of material to work from. So that's really important to all of us, and it really helps us have those early conversations with different manufacturers, look at different solutions, and they do help inform the design solution at the end of the day, and to be able to look at different sort of design solutions, and then that has informed the design solution that we're taking forward. So yeah, it's really important.
The future of architecture is, it's like any profession or anything in life. The only thing that's guaranteed is change. And I think you've got to be open to that change and those opportunities. We've had long discussions in the studio about, and I'll jump on the bandwagon because everyone will do, the AI, artificial intelligence, and how that's going to impact our profession. And I'm very clear that we need to grasp it and own it and evolve with it and use it to the best of our ability. If you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have even featured in my sort of answer. It would have been more about, modern method construction and how we're going to improve, delivery on site and things like that. I think that will change as well. We've also got, again, lurking in the background is a sort of 3D printed dwellings and actual buildings, as opposed to the models that we do. That's going to be interesting to see how that matures as well. And I can only relate this back to how, when I started, we were on the drawing boards, and there's not a single drawing board in any architect's office. So there might be one, as almost a museum piece. And we're now just all based off laptops, and we can work anywhere. I do all my design work on an iPad. And if I was to take a glimpse of what I'm doing now to the 21-year-old myself, I'd be going, wow, that's amazing what you're doing. So I think that it's those leaps that will happen. And there'll be frustrations, and there'll be the usual stuff that comes along there, and legislation. I just hope that the profession continues to thrive, and we embrace these opportunities and don't become too protective of what we do, because I think we should rely on our skills to be able to harness these powers and use them. I sound like a superhero, but harness these opportunities and use them to create better. And I think that for me is, again, beyond my ken, but very, very exciting. I think that's going to change everything we do.
So yeah, this is Castle Irwell. It's a development of 367 homes over 3 phases. And we've been delivering this since 2019. So it's one that's seen planning through COVID and construction through COVID as well. So that's been, a challenging part to delivery of the overall process. But it's been one that's really fantastic to be involved with. And, you can see, and it's nice to be here today because you can feel that it's successful. You can see the green space being used and being enjoyed. And that's really something that's been at the heart of this development. Each of the phases look onto this green heart, this open space, which actually it's integrated with wildflower planting, and also a lot of the level changes assist with dealing with flood risk and flood attenuation. So it's an integral part to the development as a whole. And that's something that's really quite wonderful, because what that means is each of these pockets are looking out over this green heart. So overall, it's about, responding to context and delivering 367 homes that bring in a range of different materials, but are also kind of complementary to each other. In terms of the context, everything's very much a red brick 2-story pitch roof housing in this part of Salford. So it's then red brick was always going to be something that was quite important, as part of the the material mix and the material palette. But then it was about introducing other brick types, other material types, that allowed each of the pockets to kind of feel not like a series of homes that kind of celebrate that mix, rather than a sea of red brick and nothing else. So the material choice was quite important, and the 3 bricks that we chose to kind of help to kind of celebrate that really.